Hello, everybody. This is Goldfinger from the Goldfinger Minute. Today I have an interesting guest, Tim, and his wife, Rose.
Hey, hello, everyone.
And Tim was in precious metals, same as I was, during the same years.
Yes, we were.
Yeah. So,
We're probably competing against each other.
well, you were in Michigan, was it?
Yep.
And I was in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh, there you go. That's a good
California
place.
when I started, but Las
That's
Vegas.
a good place to have gold and silver business, too.
So I moved from California to Nevada. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Why? Because it had to do with the refinery I had.
Right.
It was too impossible to keep a refinery in California due to all the laws for pollution and everything.
Yeah, all the pollutions and all the chemical paperwork.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
So anyway, so tell us a little bit about your operation, and what years you did it, and the name of the company, and what you did.
Okay, well, my name was Tim Small Solar, Green Frog Solar LLC. That was my second one, which we were selling solar and gold and silver. When I first picked up my brokerage license for the Treasury, it was just Tim's Small Silver Sales. And it was just a very simple company. You know, we started out really small. I started out in the 80s and just selling dimes, quarters, and nickels, buffalo nickels.
How did you learn?
Through my dad. He was a banker. He was vice president of Bank of the Commonwealth all his life. And I used to go when I was a little kid down to the bank in the vault, and we used to sort quarters, dimes, and nickels. I'd go on the weekends, and I would just go through it, and this big machine would be going around.
Explain what you're sorting, because
sorting quarters.
I know, but you're looking for
for silver, and
you're looking for the red edge versus the non-red edge.
You got it. Looking for the copper
rolls of coins.
Yes, and rolls of coin. But this machine's going around and around, and I would have to know the different color of the.
Well, yeah, it's not shiny. It's dull.
Yeah, and as soon as I'd see one, I'd grab one, and then we would bring a roll of quarters, and I would replace it with another quarter. So we were basically just taking the silver out of all these huge bags because we were just wrapping it. And my dad would give me a couple every time I did it, and he would keep some.
Okay.
So pretty soon I ended up with this stockpile.
So my dad did the same thing. I was very young. And what I did was we were looking at rolls and looking at the edge.
Yeah.
That's what we did. And pick out the silver. He brought home bags of coins. He'd buy, I think it was $1,000 if I remember right. And in cloth bags. And they were all rolls. He'd look for dimes and quarters. Obviously, nickels are nickels, so we didn't deal with nickels or pennies.
Yeah.
But of course, later on, pennies became. You had to look at the date, but it had to be pure copper. They were solid copper.
Yeah, they started becoming worth some money too.
Yeah,
then.
later on.
Yeah.
So we melted the silver. And to make
I did a lot of that too.
I could talk about that now because it wasn't me. It was my dad. And he's long gone, unfortunately. But in order to not get in trouble, we had to add other metals to it to reduce the 90% coin to maybe 70s, 75%.
Yep.
You know, otherwise it's going to keep showing up as coin silver, and we're going to get in trouble because it was a federal offense.
You couldn't. Yeah, you couldn't. Yeah, you weren't allowed to smelt it down.
I'm clean. All I did was look for the. Yeah. I didn't know he was melting in his
That's
garage.
What my dad was doing that too. Okay,
was he melting in the garage?
Yes, he was melting it in the garage, man. Refining it right in the garage.
We had electric nichrome wire furnace, okay, because they didn't have back then induction furnace.
Yes,
we didn't have the gas supply to do a gas furnace, so it would take forever to heat up.
Yep. I remember that. My dad would be out there all day long drinking his what was that? Old Milwaukee.
Oh yeah,
his old Milwaukee and then smelting, and we had these little lead like molds, and he was pouring it basically into lead molds for making like dyes on lead at first.
It had to be because lead melts at a low
temperature. They were for making lead bar ingots.
Oh, okay.
And he bought those really cheap, so he was just pouring the silver into those because he really wasn't making much money in the beginning, you know. So he was using all the stuff that he had to make his own bars in the beginning. And then he started moving back up a little further to that too.
Yeah, we used iron bars. I remember iron molds or some sort.
Yep.
We spray with some kind of a lubricant to keep it from sticking, and then it was my job to beat it with a sledgehammer. Every once in a while I'd break one. I used to bust silver apart, sterling silverware, hollowware. They actually call it hollowware.
Yeah, full of sand.
They're full of sand or wax, hard wax,
or iron nails inside of it. Yeah,
and we have the knife handles were the worst.
Oh
And
my
I used
God,
to go to the curb, beat on it with a hammer, bust the silver apart, throw the rest in the, I don't remember if I cleaned up the trash. I don't think I did. But we leave all the wax and sometimes lead inside. They had lead.
Yeah.
And hollowware, we'd bust the bottoms off because they're weighted
Yeah.
with non-precious.
Yeah.
And just tea service sets, gorgeous tea service.
Oh, I
Beat
know.
it so it would fit into the crucible.
Yeah, I did that with a huge.
Did it for years. I hate to say it. I did it for years. Trays.
Yeah, I did it with a big, huge. It was a old like. I don't want to say, but it was like a Louis V. I didn't know it was like this Louis V. huge silver tray. This guy brought it to us, and my dad's like, "Just crush it up, and we'll melt it down." And I'm like, I was still young when we were doing it, so I didn't think I could imagine what the value of that thing was worth today if I wouldn't have melted it.
And what happened was I started holding on to the better pieces.
Okay, there you go.
Because they were really old English pieces.
Yeah.
And they were very unusual. Okay, so I started holding on to it. Unfortunately, I'm buying it at, say, $8 to $10 an ounce, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm holding on to it, and I'm figuring I'm making good money. It went all the way to $20 an ounce, and then it dropped.
I remember that, too. Yeah, we
now,
were
when
sitting
the
on
Hunt
a
Brothers
lot.
got involved, do you remember the Hunt Brothers?
Yeah, when they flooded.
But the first thing they did was they forced the price up.
Yeah. Yep.
And anybody that held on to silver, ouch, got hurt.
Yep.
Because it went up to about $49, $50, and then plummeted.
Yeah, they manipulated the market really well.
Yeah,
really well. They still
hedge
do.
funds still manipulate.
Yeah,
markets.
they still. I've gotten out of watching what's going on, and because when I retired, I said, I want to get totally out of it.
Right.
But once in a while, I still go online and look at this stuff, and I look at the commodities market and what they're doing with the silver and gold. You can tell they're manipulating the hell out of it still.
I got to get a different scene. I see this is looping, so let me see if I can find a better scene. I'm going to go with another moving scene, but
okay.
Actually, maybe I'll go with a still. Let me see what this.
Yeah, just go with a still. Just freeze it.
Let's see. Hold on a second, guy. Oh, that one just went back on. Close that one. Close that one. How about that? Okay, that looks good.
Back to normal. Yeah.
So,
back to normal.
Because it's almost annoying to have it moving behind me. Okay, so you also dealt in the numismatic market of the year and type of coin.
Yes, I did.
Using the old red book, as they called it.
The red book.
And a blue book, I think.
Yes. That's when I really got heavy into it, when I was able to secure a license, basically, to buy from the treasury.
Was that in the 80s or 90s?
It was in the 90s.
Uh-huh.
And then I was able to buy directly from the mints.
Oh, wow.
Which that allowed me to get, basically a very good deal, because I was able to buy a large amount without being questioned.
Okay.
So I was buying, $100,000, $200,000 worth of coins at one time, and then reselling them.
Okay, you got really into it.
I got into the coin, and then like I said, I got into the salvage business too. Where the coins were good money, but honestly, I had just a very small refinery. It was just, a couple guys and me, and just buying, like you said, 925 silver, Canadian silver. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Canadians. Can I say? And we were melting everything we could get and then refining it into 995 silver. Then I would send it out and have it chemically checked, and then they would rate it and tell me what the silver was, and then I would melt it down into bars.
You didn't do your own fire assays?
No, I did not do. I sent it out because that way I had another outside party, confirming it. That way there was no, honestly, that way they couldn't say that I did anything wrong. I could say, look, here's the certificate saying that this company, not my company, did it. So it was more a safety factor for my customers too.
Did you send coins that were to PGS, and I believe there's another one?
Yeah, I had them graded. I had a lot of coins graded because people
certify the coins.
Yes,
it makes them more valuable and guarantees them because it seals it in plastic.
Yes, I would buy. People would come in with just a bag full of coins. Like one gentleman, he worked for the Free Press. Okay, but what he did is he filled up all the paper racks. Okay, so everybody would go in there with coins, and then he would pick out coins. He was getting so many different types of silver. I mean, he'd come back every 2 weeks with a bag of silver, and then I would pick out the best ones, and then I would send them in to get them graded, and then they'd come back, and then we would flip them.
It got so crazy when silver went up over 20 that people would be flying into LAX.
Yeah.
We'd rent a room. They'd have suitcases, and that's all. They didn't bring clothes. They had suitcases full of sterling silver, hollowware, and stuff that they they already had crushed down because they wanted to get the weight down, and they wanted to get the most volume in a suitcase. So
Right.
that was good for me because I didn't have to
Clean
it
it
all
or
up.
nothing,
It was
yeah.
already cleaned up.
Yeah.
And so they was pure sterling. We had a portable scale. We'd weigh it in the hotel room. We'd pay them cash. It was a cash business.
Yeah.
Okay?
Always cash business.
Which was later on created a big problem. But it was a cash and carry business.
Yes, it did.
And then they'd take a taxi back, and they'd leave the same within a couple hours of showing up. They'd leave within 2 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
Back to wherever state they came from.
Yep.
And we had regular people doing this.
Yeah, all they would do is they'd run around to all these like thrift stores and picking up all the junk silver
Yeah,
and
you'd find
everything.
People didn't realize that candlesticks were sterling. I mean, a
Yep.
lot of candlesticks.
A lot. Oh my God, candlesticks, spoons,
Most
knives.
common was cutlery, utensils,
Yeah.
sterling, and
Yeah.
a lot of people sometimes they didn't know because they didn't realize that there's plated.
Yeah.
And they'd bring triple X. You remember those triple
Yep.
X plated?
Yep.
Or it'll say,
Yeah.
it'll say.
I can't remember. There was one. It was like extra thick, and it was like what did they call it?
Yeah, that was a key, extra thick.
Yeah. Or
Magnet was our best friend.
Yeah, exactly. You go and take a look at some of this silver, and it was like coated fairly thick, but inside of it was not.
Triple
plated, triple plated.
So
yeah.
I had a girl that worked for me later on, and a guy, I wasn't in the shop, and I had told everybody, you can't, anything that's $1,000 or more, you have to call me on my cell.
Yeah.
You cannot buy it yourself. Okay. Well, I had a manager who said, I know it. She's good. She knows how to.
She's what she's doing.
So
Oops.
she pulled up tray. The guy had a cardboard box, and I mean a big, not just a little, huge cardboard box, all filled with silver hollowware. And she looked at some of them, and it said silver plate, Plate.
She thought it was a solid silver plate.
She says, well, it says it's silver. It's a silver plate.
Right. Oh my God. No, it's silver
And
plate.
all of it. And she spent a couple $1,000. And I says, you just broke the rule. You're fired. Okay.
Yeah.
And the
That-
manager
that-
got chewed out too for
You
allowing her
you
to.
lose your ass on
It's-
that too.
We did. Well, we lost a lot of money, but I in the long run, I made it up. But we bought a whole bunch of hollowware and silver trays, mostly silver trays.
Yeah.
Because she says, well, it says silver plate. Yeah, silver plated.
That's right.
But they didn't use the D.
That's right. Yeah. But we started buying, when silver went up, they were bringing in silver plated stuff too. We were buying that, but at, like pennies.
So
because
you could turn it. You could strip it.
We were stripping it and
Okay.
then refining it. And
Right.
that's where my guys came in. We were refining a lot of the silver plated with electrolysis.
Later on, when silver went up, not when it was $10 an ounce, but later on when it settled around 18 to 25.
Yeah.
You paid a penny a pound.
Yeah.
By
Yep.
the pound, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And we started, that's when I started getting into the refinery at my home. Right. I mean, we were refining a lot of it because we were getting it. I mean, I could just go to the thrift store and buy a ton of this stuff for dirt cheap, man.
I'd go to garage sales
Yeah.
and find sterling silver, and they're
Yep.
selling it for $1 for a heavy bracelet. I mean, it was a shame I didn't have more time, but it didn't pay for me. I'd have to do it on my off time, like Sunday when the store's closed.
Yep.
Okay, because I had a store. But it was fun because you go to swap meets and you'd find things that are hidden.
Yeah.
They're 14 karat gold.
We did a lot of estate sales.
Estate sales were very big.
We did. I did estate sales, and I'll tell you, I came out a winner
A lot
on
of people
those.
got diamonds out of it.
Yeah, I did.
Bigger money.
Yeah, I got diamonds out of
Yeah.
a few because we would just pop the diamond and then strip it, and then melt the
I did
silver
not
down.
do estate sales because you needed a license. I don't know if they did in Michigan, but they did.
No, they had a they would.
They did in California.
No, you could. Well, you could. The people that were offering the estate sale had the license, so everybody would come in and just buy it. So we just went in there and bought it
Okay,
as
so
a.
you were a consumer.
I was a consumer buying it.
bidding.
Oh yeah, we
Bidding.
just walk in there and say, well, they would just have it all. It'd be like a $5 table, a $6 table, a $1 table, and then they would think it was costume jewelry, and some of this. It was not.
They had no idea.
They had no idea, this little old lady would just have all this jewelry everywhere, and they just say, "Well, it looks all costume." They weren't going through and picking each one of them out.
I had a lady in Bakersfield. I think her name was Jan. It's been a long time. It's Jan or Pam. It doesn't matter. But she handled estate sales regularly. She was very big, and she'd travel around.
Okay.
And then she'd come to my refinery and bring in things, and I ended up buying diamonds as well as gold and silver. Okay, because she knew that I had a market for diamonds because I did diamonds too. I had jewelry stores.
Yeah, I gave my diamonds to my daughters. I just put them in a little bag and then put them in.
The little stones. I just put them in a little cup.
Yep.
And pile them up and sell them by the 100 carat.
Yep. I just gave them all to before I moved here. I just dumped out, put them on a gram scale, and just said, okay, this is yours, packaged them
I
up
hope
and
they
handed
know
them
the
over.
value.
Oh yeah, they know. Oh, they
Okay,
got.
good.
Before I left, I gave them a medium priority box full of gold and silver. I said,
Good.
"This is yours, man.
Yeah.
Don't sell it. Wait for about 20 more years, and when you want to retire, then go ahead."
So we had a refinery. I know you did too.
Yeah.
We both started off in a garage.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your father started it.
Yeah.
Same as mine.
Yeah.
Okay. Did he have a treasury license back in the
No.
70s?
No.
Oh,
Not,
okay.
not
You
at
had to
all.
have a treasury license to have anything over 5 ounces of gold. Did you know?
No, I didn't. No, we didn't.
Yeah,
We didn't know
yeah,
that. We
you
were
had to
just.
have a treasury license. It
Yeah.
was a federal offense to, believe it or not, it was a federal offense back then. If you before
Well,
1970.
we didn't deal with gold though that much. We only
Okay.
dealt with silver.
No, that was gold. It
Yeah.
was
So
gold.
with gold, yeah,
They
I
only
think
allowed 5 ounces of gold.
yeah, because he was a banker, so I figured he probably knew that. But we dealt more with silver. We did a lot of bulk silver. I mean,
Now, I'm
a
going to
lot.
tax my memory. But during the next Nixon, I believe it was Nixon era,
Yes, it was when he took us off the gold scale.
and people started, and they had to turn, you had to turn
You
metals in.
you legally had to turn it in. If you didn't,
Precious metals.
you could get in trouble for it. But my
So
dad
people
didn't.
were burying jars of jewelry.
They were bearing
the
jars,
backyard.
jewelry, and all your like your
Coins.
gold coin collections in
Yeah.
the little blue
They were burying them.
foldable books. They were
Yeah.
burying them. They were burying
Yeah,
that
they
stuff.
were burying them in
Yeah.
canning, as I remember.
Canning jars. Yes, they were.
And I'm sure a lot of them have never been found.
Oh yeah. A lot of older people that passed away. And like I
It's a little before my time, but it was.
Yeah.
But I do remember people would bring in rusted top,
yeah.
canning jars, and said that they found this in their backyard.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, people do crazy stuff, and the government gets involved. Yeah.
And they didn't have treasures there. They have some beautiful $20
Yeah.
old, and I only learned numismatics because I worked for a while inside of a numismatic coin store.
Right.
And I was just thrown into it because he needed help.
Yeah.
And I was just talking about about a silver story, which is crazy.
Yeah.
About a guy came in with Carson City mint coins.
Yeah.
Silver.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was told to pay that they're worth 15 times silver. And I was told authorized to pay $10 as long as I checked it and made sure that it was a real coin. Usually we just used a magnet because we didn't want to damage the coin.
Yeah.
So we didn't, and we just make sure it's the right size and the right weight. That's it. We didn't want to do anything where we scratched it or cut it or anything like that.
Right.
He was out of town. I bought about 20 of them from a guy. I paid him, 20 times 10, okay,
Yep.
$200.
Yep.
And I left it in the safe for him when he got back, and I kept the receipt with it because I was using his money and I was just running the store while he was on vacation.
Right.
He comes back, he looks at these coins, and he calls me in his office. I thought, oh shit,
You're in trouble
I'm
now.
in trouble because the way he said, "Goldfinger, get in here now." I mean,
Yeah.
I was like,
He was
oh,
probably, where
no.
did you get this extra money to buy
He
them all
says,
at
"Is
first?
this receipt right? Is this correct? You paid 200." I'm going, listen, I'm sorry. If I made a mistake, I'll pay the 200. He says, every one of these coins are worth more than 200 a piece.
Yeah.
Every one.
Yeah.
He says, the cheapest one's going to be worth more than 200.
Yeah.
He says, do you know what these are? I go, I was told this is silver coin. If a silver dollar comes in, to pay 10 times.
Yeah.
I paid $10 each. He's just shaking his head. He says, let me show you in the red book.
What
I was
it-
shocked.
What it's worth. I had a guy to do that. He brought some gold coins in, and I can't remember what they were, but I had a guy working for me. He goes, "Oh, these aren't real gold," and he actually made a mistake. And the guy's, okay, well, what do you give me for them? He's like, "Well, I'll give you $1.50 a piece for them." So
And he really meant it. He didn't purposely.
he was trying. I mean, he was honest. He goes, "These are not real," because in the middle of the minting press during that year, they stopped from gold to like this brass copper, so it looked the same, but it was different. It went from gold to fake, and all at once, he's like, "Oh, this one's not real," but he had like 4 or 5 of them, and like 3 of them were real gold, and the other ones weren't. What he looked at, when the one he picked up wasn't gold. So he's, "I'll give you like $1.50 or something a piece for him." So the guy said, "Okay, I'll take it." When I got back, I looked at it. I'm like, "How much did you pay for these?" Like $10. I'm like,
And after a
that's,
while, you can look at it.
Yeah,
And know the
I'm a-
color, the
you got it.
texture.
Yeah, you could feel the weight. Just
Well, yeah.
you pick up the
Put in the
one and
hand.
pick up the other one,
You
and
get
it's
so good,
heavier.
you know a 10 carat from a 14 from an 18.
You
just
got it.
by the color and the weight.
Yeah, by the weight, and I'm
I mean, I
looking
did
at
for
it.
40
You can
some
rub it
odd
on your
years.
fingers and know,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay. And I'm like, these are real and these are fake, and these are worth 500 a piece
Oh
now.
my God.
And I'm like, who's this guy? Well, the guy put a false name because
Oh.
before he didn't check false name. I was gonna call him up, and say, come on down, and get some more money. And I was gonna be, good to him. Couldn't do nothing with it, but I was quite happy about
I
it.
wasn't that good of a person.
Yeah, I was. We were fair, but we were fair. We
I'll
did.
be honest. I was not a good person.
Uh,
Previous to 2016, I was not a good person. I had a major accident, which most of my fathers know, and it had brain damage. And since
Okay.
then, I changed my ways a lot.
yeah.
But I had a really bad
I-
death experience.
So,
Died 3 times.
You know what? We are out. That's what happened to me. I got in an accident. I fell asleep behind the wheel driving, and
Oh, so did I.
I
In a
crashed.
truck.
And I was in a Mustang, and I rolled over into the woods, and the Mustang was so tore up that they had to take parts of the VIN number from different parts to figure out because the license plate went flying.
What state were you in?
I was in Michigan still,
Oh.
and they had me at the hospital as a John Doe because my wallet was in the console,
I
but
lost
it would
everything.
and they for 2 days they didn't know who I was until the
Well-
paperwork come back, and then they told everybody. But I flatlined in the.
Yeah.
I flatlined for 2.5 minutes in the
Yeah.
EMS ambulance, and they
Wow.
kickstarted
We're
my
gonna talk
life.
about this after the
That's a
precious
different.
metals,
Yeah,
because I have a story to tell you about. Oh
Yeah.
my God, I died 3 times.
see. I only died.
One at
died
the
for
scene,
2.5
One in
minutes.
the
so-
helicopter and one at the hospital.
and you weren't
And they
ready to
brought
go
me
yet.
back, and I wasn't ready.
I figured this. I figured.
And of course, my name was Goldfinger. That's my legal name.
Yeah.
And when the priest would come in and say to me, he would ask me, "What year is it? Who's the president?
Yeah.
What's
your
your
name? I go figure.
I go, Goldfinger. He goes, every day he'd come in and say, I said, why do you come in every day and ask the same questions?
Yeah.
He said, we're just checking your cognitive. But what I didn't realize, of course, everything was gone. Wallet, clothes,
Right.
everything. Okay. I mean,
Right.
literally everything in the truck burnt up. What I didn't, and I told one of the nurses, please, around the 3rd or 4th day, can you please contact a company in Nebraska who I work for?
Right.
I believe they have my driver's license, a copy of it, and who to contact.
And they'll
Because
yeah.
I didn't have my son's phone number. And so they had them fax over my driver's license. And I could hear them in the background, everybody saying my name multiple times,
Go
all
figure, go
laughing,
figure,
all
laughing.
these nurses laughing
Yeah.
and giggling and everything else. And they're carrying this paper in, prancing in with like half a dozen nurses saying, your name is really Goldfinger? I go, yeah, that's my name. That's what I keep telling you.
Yep.
That was, they thought I had lost my mind.
Yep.
It's pretty funny.
Hey, I figured, I didn't die because God had a plan for me here yet that I didn't know about, and the devil didn't want me because I was probably going to take his job.
So what do you think? What did you learn from that? You changed?
Oh,
I
I
did.
Oh, I changed big time. I really became a lot more humbler, a lot more easygoing. Yeah, it was a life-changing experience.
was.
It
We have
definitely
a lot
is.
in common, don't we?
Yeah. There's a lot of things to talk about, and that's a whole different story.
I know.
Though.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
kind of went into it anyway.
Yeah, that's a
But let's go back to the
back
coin.
on
So-
track with the coins.
Yeah. So you also did gold refining a little bit. On
Yes.
the side.
Yes, I did very little bit of gold. Like I said, I dealt mostly with coins, gold coins,
Okay.
silver coins, but we did do some refining. For me, it was more the silver refining because gold was a lot more steps in refining, and there was a lot more chemicals involved in it.
Yes.
And I didn't want to have to store that kind of stuff.
It was a big problem with chemicals. We had a full lab.
Yeah.
We had a lot of things we had to have. We had to
Yeah.
have a waterproof burned area to store our chemicals in acid. We had to keep cyanide separate from acid on
Yep.
the other side of
Yep.
the yard. I had a big refinery.
Yeah,
You dealt in cyanide, I assume.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's a
Now
danger.
they're hazards.
Oh God, yeah.
Yellow suit stuff. This was
Yeah.
back in the 70s.
Yeah, we're just wearing some regular gloves, man. Plastic yellow gloves, the big thick ones, and we're working out there.
So we
you know.
recovered gold with cyanide baths back in the 70s.
Yeah.
My dad did, I should
Yeah.
say. I helped him in the shop.
Yeah.
We had huge vats with tumblers, and we'd tumble the pocket watches and the wristwatches.
Yes, pulverize them.
Well, we would just tumble them in a bath of cyanide to strip them.
Oh God.
Okay. And then we take all the metal and wash it off, and then we sell it as scrap steel. We took pocket watches.
Okay.
I mean, thousands, tens
yeah,
of thousands.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And we had a very big. This is like 6 feet long and 3 foot wide.
Pulling all that gold off
It was made
of
out of some kind of a gray plastic. I think it's PVC. He drilled millions of holes in it, so the solution would go in and out, and it would slowly rotate in this bath. A big drum,
Yeah.
big drum, 6 foot by 4 foot drum, and and then we processed the cyanide and dropped the metals out. Okay.
Yeah, see, that's why we
With-
didn't
with
want to get
zinc-
involved.
with zinc oxide.
Yeah, I didn't want to get involved in that. That was just too much. It was a lot easier refining
Well,
silver and
that was
quicker.
our smaller shop before we got into the big shop.
Yeah.
And that was crazy because we used to dump it. I'll be honest, we used to dump the cyanide down the toilet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
1,000 gallons a week, easy.
See, yeah. Well, in the old days, they didn't really say
This is before hazmat
hazmat and all that.
suits.
You could do that kind of stuff because I mean, it was what it was, And now that's
You buy
another.
film silver.
Yeah, that's another reason why I got out of the business because the chemicals with
they
the
made it
DNR,
impossible.
also even the DNR getting involved, and it was just like, you know what, it's just getting to be too expensive, and unless you're big, you won't make any money
Did you
refining.
deal in X-ray silver?
Yes, stripping the X-rays.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pain.
We burnt it.
Oh, okay,
That
okay.
made a lot of smoke. We had to have air
I
scrubbers.
didn't do that. I actually
we
put them
burnt
in
the plastic.
white 5-gallon pails or a trash can, depending on how many I got.
Back then,
Yeah,
they
and
used
washed
old
it.
X-rays, and they had silver on the X-rays.
Yeah, we used to wash them.
By Kodak mostly,
Yep.
which of course now it's digital.
Yeah.
But this is back in the day.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
How about batteries? Silver batteries?
No, I didn't mess with batteries because of the toxicity of it. I
Okay.
stayed away from that.
We would put them in a sealed drum and put them in our furnace. We had a big furnace, and we'd explode them.
Yeah, sure.
To-
Popping, bang, bang,
My
bang.
dad created this machine. Okay, it was funny. He worked on this machine that would take each one in a hopper, no matter what the size. Put it. It would go in a row, single file, and he had this carbide blade going at a high speed just to cut the top of each one,
yep.
so the acid could get into it. Now he worked on this thing. He was up in age. He worked on this thing for months with timers and everything else and speed controls.
Yep.
And everything. In the meantime, we never told him, but we solved it by just throwing it in a drum, a 30-gallon drum, sealed the drum, put a few holes in it.
Yep.
Okay.
Let the pressure out,
Put the
start it
drum
on
inside
fire.
of another drum, so in case any silver popped out, it would get caught in the second drum. Okay, and threw it in the furnace.
Yeah.
It exploded them.
Yeah.
And 90% of it exploded. It was time was money. So
Yeah.
then we just take the exploded batteries and throw them into a big drum and add nitric acid.
Yep. And
Now, we never told
Yep,
him.
wash them out.
He'd come whenever my dad would show up. Everybody says, "Your dad's here," but they call him Leonard. Leonard's here, okay? And we'd hide the drum that we sold it. We bring his machine out already with hopper of batteries, and we turn it on. And so he was so proud every time he came in.
Seeing that thing
He
running.
says, "How's it working?" I says, "Yeah, we're recovering a lot. It's doing great." That thing was so slow. It was a joke. We were getting hundreds,
Yeah.
if not 1,000 pounds of
Batteries
batteries from
in-
across the country.
All the time. Yeah. I just
But
didn't. I
but we
like
didn't want
doing
him to feel bad. He spent so much time working on
Yeah,
this thing.
yeah. We didn't want to deal with the batteries. I didn't have a big enough room. I didn't have big enough space either.
Yeah, I know. It
So-
did take it. You never did get a shop, or you finally got a shop?
No. I kept my shop right at my house, man. I had a big garage.
Oh, okay,
I
you
had
had
a
a big
real,
garage.
yeah,
Really big garage,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I kept it quiet, and
But you still had a. Did you ever have a gas furnace, or was it always electric?
No, I had a gas furnace. I had a propane one.
That's kind of noisy. That gets noisy.
Well, inside the building, not too bad.
Okay.
Because I had the big, huge. I had industrial
You didn't have
fan.
problems with your neighbors?
No, not at all, not at all. But we did. I did it during like the evening, late night hours, or when they were all at work.
So you don't see orange oxides in the air.
You don't see the stuff coming out of out of the, out of all
blowing
the
it up
vents.
the roof.
Exactly.
Made a vent.
Exactly. But yeah, we did more with the stripping of the silver.
Okay.
Electrolysis. It took longer. It did take 3, 4, 5 days
Yes,
sometimes.
yeah.
But I would have, a 50-gallon vat and just throw it all in there, and then I would hook up 2 battery chargers to it and let it run.
Did you have masks?
Oh yeah.
Did you have gloves?
Oh yeah, I had it
Rubber
all.
gloves.
I had the jumpsuit. I had the rubber
We had
jumpsuit.
these
I'd put the condom on.
we had these glass pearls that you could break, that in case you got cyanide poisoning, it would make your heart rate go faster. I don't remember the name of what it was.
We never even had those.
Oh, my dad.
no.
My dad he was a smart guy, so he looked up what to do in case you get cyanide poisoning. Because if you get it in your eyes or mouth, it's going to affect your heart.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there were these glass things that you break, and it makes your heart beat a lot faster.
Almost like a nitro pill.
Yeah, and I don't remember what it was, but I just remember that was right there in case we had a problem.
Yeah.
Never had a problem, but
No,
I didn't use gloves at first. I
Either,
just dipped my hands in the cyanide.
either did I at first, and then I was like, I better,
We didn't know until he started making a sneak about it. I didn't know.
Yes,
You could
yes.
buy the cyanide eggs from your local chemical store.
Yeah.
Buy the 30-gallon drum.
Yes. Yeah. I used to be able
Enough to wipe out
Yeah.
a whole city.
I
literally.
used to be able to buy my nitric acid at the hardware store.
Yeah.
I mean, in the glass, the gallon glass things. When I was okay, we need a little top off here, a little top off there. Or you could order it by the drumful from the hardware store.
I know.
Now you can't do that
Oh
anymore.
no.
You know.
Yeah. Well, also the hardware store used to sell when I was a kid gunpowder and fuse.
Yeah. Yeah,
and you can make your own explosives.
Yeah,
and
you
it
can't
was
buy.
for
You couldn't buy
reloading,
none of
but-
that stuff now.
Yeah.
I had to have a permit to get my nitric acid. You know, I'm like, this is. They want to know what am I doing with it? Why
we
do I
had
need
a wall full of permits
Yeah.
in the 90s. In the late 80s or early 90s, everything changed.
it? Yeah, yeah.
Everything
It
changed.
really did. That's why
It
I
made
got.
it very difficult to run a business.
Yeah, that's why I got out of it.
Plus the cash.
Yeah,
We went through a lot of cash.
yeah. I dealt with. See, I dealt with PayPal too.
Okay.
Okay, because people are buying from out of state. They would want pay because PayPal was big then. So everybody's PayPal, and it was okay at the beginning. But then when you start dealing with 100,000, 200,000, they want to know where that money's going, where it comes from, how
I
come
know.
you're getting it.
After
It's
9/11,
like yeah,
everything. And we're making huge withdrawals of cash.
yes, yeah.
And depositing checks.
I had a few times where the bank says, "How come you want this cash?" I'm like, "Well,
we had to order it.
yeah." I said, "I'm buying gold and silver." Well, I'd go to. I had like 3 different bank accounts, so I'd go to this one, take a certain amount out, go to this one, take a certain
Yeah,
amount
the
out, go
same
to this
thing.
one,
Same.
and then I'd come back like you said with checks or whatever, or I'd come back in like a week with another whole stack of money that I wanted to put back into bank.
We had a
And-
guy in Florida that would wire transfer, but we're talking huge amounts of money, $300,000, $500,000, $800,000.
Yeah. Oh,
huge amount of money.
I know.
And then he wanted us to ship him silver, sterling.
yeah.
So we would refine it, and then we would add copper. We'd drop it in a barrel of water to make. He wanted silver, sterling shot,
Okay.
and then we dry it, of course, clean it up, dry
Okay.
it, and then we'd put it in a 30-gallon drum, put it on a pallet. We had a forklift, loaded it in a truck, and shipped it to Florida. He was making like the Rembrandt statues. He was making
Okay.
them out of sterling silver,
Okay.
and sometimes he wanted them in gold. He'd make smaller ones out of gold.
Yep.
Big, ridiculous amount of money, and
Yeah.
it was just like we needed huge amounts of money. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
we had huge amounts of money going in our account, and then to have that much silver, we're paying cash, and we really can't show how we got it.
Right. Right. That was
Now,
we
statute
did. I
of
did the
limitations
same.
has run out. I'm not worried about it anymore.
Either am I. Yeah.
I'm
We
in
used-
another country.
I bought a lot of gold shot.
Uh-huh.
And I had a press, and I was basically pressing my own coin.
Really?
And I was selling blank.
So you had
Blank-
a press. We never
Yeah,
got into making.
I was
money.
making my own pressed coins, and then I was also
for investment.
for resale.
Yeah.
For resale for preppers and things like that. I was
Right,
making 1/8 ounce, 1/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce, and then full ounce.
Yeah.
All different size coins.
At what price were you selling them in those days? Do you remember?
22, 23.
No, but
when
what-
I first started,
2,200 or
Uh,
what? How many dollars?
one ounce was selling for 22.
2,200.
$22 an ounce for silver.
Oh, for silver.
For silver, not
What about,
gold.
did you do gold?
No, I didn't do gold.
Oh,
I
you
always
just did silver.
just
Okay.
silver. I always sold gold coins.
And what was the silver price at the time when you did 22?
19.
So you're making $3
Yeah,
roughly.
$3 to $4.
Yeah.
Yeah, $3 to $4.
That's good.
That's
You can
still
make
good. Yeah.
Good money for a press. You can make that press make you money.
Oh, man, that press ran and ran and ran and ran. People were buying. In the smaller the denomination, actually the more I made off it. You know what I mean? So and we were buying shot and then just pouring it and bam, stamping, pouring, stamping. And then my little bars, they were selling great. I like even before I fully retired with her, like I said, I was in the garage and I'd have my computer out there talking to her, and I'm out there pouring bars because I'm like I had so much shot that I had to get rid of, and I didn't want to sell it in shot because it sells better in
It
bars.
sells at spot or below spot.
Yeah.
A couple percent below spot.
You got it. So if I make my own bars,
And you
I
make
could sell it.
$3 an ounce.
You got it.
You're doing pretty good.
Right. So I'm like, okay, I'm busy. And that would be all day. I mean, all day just pouring bars
Yeah,
of
because
silver.
you want to make it on the both ends.
You got it. And that's when it, I just got rid of my business. Just the legal part of my business, like, with the license and all that. 4 years ago? 3.5 years? About 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
On my silver business, and I had gold. I had a silver shot that I had paid for like nothing for.
I held on my silver
yeah.
from $3 an ounce up.
Yeah, yeah,
I held on as much silver as I could.
Yeah.
Sometimes I couldn't because too much silver would come in, and I'd have to sell some off because I can't afford to hold it all.
yeah. See, I loved buying the shot, man, because I'd get such a good deal on it, and then we would smelt it down and make our own bars
Yeah.
and everything. And the money on making your own shot was spectacular.
Huh.
We were making $6 to $8 per.
Yeah, we didn't have the space or the room to do
Yeah.
press coins.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing.
That's
that
a
takes
hard-
people.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of equipment.
Yeah.
I had no room.
Yeah,
for
we
that.
had-
Strictly
I
refining.
had 2 machines running, and they were hydraulic, so it was easy. You had to put the blank in, put your thumbs down, stamp, pull
Yeah.
your thumbs off.
A lot of guys, what they do is they melt the silver, they roll it into a sheet the right thickness, and then they stamp cut the circle, which
Yeah.
is a blank.
Yeah.
And then they put the blanks.
That's
in
what we
press.
were doing.
That's
we
what
were
you doing.
Yeah, we were rolling it, stamping it. You were rolling out flat,
Ah.
stamping it, and then we were making certified
Checking
weight,
the weight.
checking the
Yeah.
weight, everything. Then we had little stamps that were 999s. 999F. Put that on there, and they were just blank, but just a 999.
What was the picture on the coin? Was it
A blank.
just a blank?
Just a blank. And these guys, what they were doing is they were buying the blanks from me, and then they were buying these little hammer presses and
and
making
putting
their
their own
own
name.
stamps on it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's a different
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah, very different.
So you weren't promoting your own company's name on the coins.
No, we were no. I wasn't promoting my own company. What I wanted to do was just sell the blank
And you would sell them
in bulk. I'd sell,
Yeah, okay.
2, 3, 4, 500, 700, 1,000 at a
Okay.
time, 2,000 at a time, sometimes more, depending on who wanted them.
Yeah, it's a whole nother.
Yep, that's up.
There's so many ways to make money in precious metals back then.
Yes, and it was just unreal.
Copper. Did you ever deal in copper?
No.
Yeah, it's a derivative.
Yeah, but I stayed with the
You'd
precious
end up with
metal.
platinum. What did you do with platinum?
Nope, didn't mess with none of it.
But you'd get some.
I know,
anyway.
but never mess with it. Never
What did you do
refined.
with the platinum that you
We
had?
never just left it. Just left it in. No, we never pulled it out of any of the
Okay.
liquids or anything. I didn't mess with it. Nope.
You just dumped it?
Yeah. Yeah.
My heart just.
Yeah.
I have a pain.
Yeah, and I did.
I need
And we did a
aspirin.
lot of silver refining too. I mean, but
So easy to drop it.
I know, but it was just I didn't want to start anything more. Okay, I mean, I was busy because I was basically there was only 3 of us, and at the end it was only me.
A lot of times they have copper shanks.
Yeah.
With a platinum or palladium head.
Yeah,
And palladium is a platinum
Yeah,
metal. There's
yeah.
6 platinum metals, and you lost all that, huh?
yeah.
Well, that's
But-
okay. We did losses too when we changed our plumbing out from the previous place.
Oh yeah, you can imagine.
And we changed our plumbing out. They used steel pipes.
Yeah,
and they use galvanized pipes.
Yes.
And galvanized has zinc.
Yeah.
In galvanized.
it reacts
Well,
to it.
when we brought all the pipes out, we decided to change them to plastic because they were starting to corrode through from the acid they
Right.
were dumping. So we took all the pipes out, okay, and we're looking at the pipe, and we're seeing precious metals, and they weren't. That was the problem. Was they weren't draining.
Yeah, the
It
hole's like that's
filled
big, but it was filled with precious metals all the way through.
silver and gold.
Yeah.
We literally refined the predecessors' pipes.
Yeah.
And got untold amounts of gold and silver.
Yeah,
out of it.
because
I don't know how much they
it
lost.
automatically just like galvanizes itself to the pipe.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
once gold attracts gold, silver attracts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I wish they had a
Yeah.
mercury trap
we did.
in there.
I also did silver crystal, refined crystal, so I could sell it to a lot of the stores. They made snow globes out of it.
Silver crystal.
Silver crystal.
How did you do that?
With electrolysis, you grow your own crystal inside of a stainless steel bowl.
Okay.
And then, you would double or sometimes triple refine it. And it would grow
What was the liquid it's used?
an acid.
An acid
Yeah,
liquid, not an alkali.
Not an alkali. An acid liquid, you turn your voltage on,
Yeah,
and
that's interesting.
very low.
You know,
and it would
they
grow
still
like
use-
coral. It would grow like coral.
That's cool.
Oh, it was beautiful. I would take
Wow. That sounds interesting.
when I had my solar company, the solder strips were silver coated. So I would take the silver coated solder strips and I would like put them in the silver bowl and make trees and design it. And then we'd put the old silver inside there, and then it would attract to that. It would make these silver crystal trees.
Cool.
And then we would put them in a liquid in a glass container, and I would
Filled with liquid.
sell those. And it was you could make
Gorgeous.
beautiful
Love
stuff.
to see some pictures of those.
And it was
one day.
just you couldn't control the way the crystal grew.
Yeah, it's natural.
So it's just I mean, you could control
Each one different.
every one was beautiful, man. People were paying
Did
big
you know
money
that
for
they
that.
sell a silver solution?
Mhm.
I don't remember the exact. Do you remember the name of what it's called? They use it in the medical field.
God,
Anywhere from a 1 to 5% solution of silver.
I know which one you're talking
Yeah,
about.
and you know it's for health purposes.
It's not silver nitrate, is it?
No.
No.
I have a bottle of it actually in my refrigerator right now.
I know what you're
You're
talking
supposed
about.
to take it on a regular basis for general health.
Yeah.
But they also use silver bandages inside the stomach, like screens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or silver.
Yeah. If you have a hernia on that, it's
They
it's
use a silver screen.
yeah, it's
Silver
refined
has
silver.
medical purposes. Silver actually is the most used metal in
Well,
all fields.
They use silver in all your respirators and everything
Okay,
for
so
when
let's
we're
talk
cleaning all
about-
that chemicals.
Brings up a subject. So let's talk about where you think silver is going to go, because I know in 1990, okay, they talked about silver going up. Then in the 2000s, they talked about silver going crazy. Didn't. Nothing ever happened. We're now 2025, and silver is moving up a little.
It's
but
at 40.
Is it at 40?
I think it's at 40 now.
last
Or
I-
for coins. For coins.
Coins. What about pure silver? It's just 30. 30.
I think it's like
in the low
30.
30s.
Yeah, in the low 30s. But I mean, if you think about it, it has gone up all the time, because we were paying 3 and 8 and 12. Okay, and now it's up in its 30s. So
That's
is
fine. But
It's
that's
gaining.
not where I expected it to be, and I'm already 25, 35 years.
Into yeah.
Well, waiting for it. Okay.
Right.
I didn't expect to live this old, to be honest with you.
Right.
So,
Exactly. I know that one.
so I like to see silver at 150. What do you think silver will ever go to?
You know, that's a trick question.
And when?
You know, right now with what's going on in the world today is scary. I think that silver is going to hit. I would probably say by next year, if everything the way I see it, I see silver hitting 50 an ounce right now, and probably if it keeps going the way it's going, within a couple years, I'll see silver. We'll see silver at 100
I
at
think you'll
100
see
an
it
ounce.
sooner than that.
Yeah, I think
Because of what the U.S. is doing with the tariffs and everything else, and the way they're getting more money in and reducing the debt, but I think they'll be in somewhat of an inflationary system. I really think it might happen sooner.
I'm giving it 5 years before it hits 100.
Yeah,
I'm giving it
I
5
think
years.
it'll be less.
It
I'm
could-
hoping. But I've always been
I'm-
optimistic.
yeah, I've always
been optimistic.
Yeah, I
about
mean,
silver.
when I first started, you know, we were making 25 cents on a dime. Okay,
I know.
that was good money. Okay, now we're making $3, and it's like, well, that's still not enough. Okay, because we expect silver. It is highly manipulated. There is no
Yes,
gold and
absolutely.
silver
It's being
are
held down.
it is unbelievably
But
held
silver
down.
is the metal that's mostly used. There's lots
Yeah.
of gold above
Yeah.
ground in banks and safes.
Yeah.
There's not lots
A lot
of
of silver.
physical silver.
No, physical silver is just a byproduct basically of
My-
looking for gold.
And my
Okay.
understanding is a shortage every year of what's mined to compare to what's used.
Yes. You
You
know,
agree with that?
I agree 100% on
So,
that, because I watched.
Supply and demand tells you.
Yes, silver is in everything. Silver is in the new cars. Silver is in every type
It's
of
tinted glass.
yeah, and it's in
Every electronics.
AI, everything, any type of
Do you know plastics are made from silver?
yeah, in any type of bombs or whatever you want to call it, you know, stuff like that, computer chips,
Well,
everything is silver. I mean,
silver is the best conductor, better than copper.
yeah, and so
And gold honestly doesn't conduct very good.
no, and it's like you use silver in everything. If you look at everything in silver, anything medical is basically silver. Okay.
Yeah.
There's at least a small trace of it there.
Yeah.
And it's so widely used, it's unreal. The way they manipulate the market though is with paper silver. They say there's so many tons or so many 1,000 million ounces that we have.
But they can't back it up.
But when you go and try to buy it with that, they say, "Oh, we don't want to give you it. We don't want to
I
give you it."
guarantee you right now, and I've been out of the market for a few years.
I've been out for a few, so
I guarantee you it's very difficult to find physical silver.
yes,
And you're going to pay a premium, a big premium, which
Yes,
is the
you are.
price above the value.
yes,
Okay?
yes.
To
Definitely,
get it. But
definitely.
that's the only way I would ever recommend anybody to hold it.
Yeah, you have to buy it. You know, we got lucky in our days. We were lucky to pick it up, and if we sat on it or just flipped it, like I sat on a lot of my stuff. I sat on it for many, many years, being a kid, you know, doing what I did with my dad. So that gave me a lot of leverage,
Yeah.
you know, because when you buy it, when you get it for free, basically, you know, doing the coin trick,
Yeah.
you know,
It's I know a lot of people are going to have a lot of questions about precious metals because they're at a time right now that it's
Buy.
way overdue.
Just buy. Just buy.
Just buy it.
Just
And
buy. Just buy.
What kind should they buy? What do you recommend?
I recommend silver. Honestly, I recommend gold. Okay.
What
gold.
form? What size?
Physical 1 ounce bars. You know, half ounce, quarter ounce bars, but buy from a real company.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I'm not gonna give you a company's name because I'll let you guys do your own due diligence on that. But buy from a reputable, real company.
With a certificate?
Yes, with the certificates.
Fine or sterling or coin?
Fine. Well, 99 fine silver. Okay,
Uh-huh.
3 nines or 4 nines gold
Yeah.
and silver, both. Coins within the silver realm, it really doesn't matter what kind of coin you buy in the silver realm. Some people like, you know, the oddities. Okay, I just like buying silver itself. Just anything I can get silver coin, I would buy. Okay. And I still recommend it
And
because
still recommend the pure.
yeah, just
Well, you and I are both in
you know,
agreement with that.
yeah, 99 fine, 3 nines or 4 9 fine. Okay, is what you want to look for.
They can't find 4 nines.
But some
unless
you
can buy
can.
a gold, you can get 4 nines.
Yeah.
You can't
Well,
get
no, you can buy 4 9 silvers.
You can.
Yeah,
I've never
it's
seen
yeah,
too
it's
much of
yeah,
that.
it's high
It has
purified.
to be plated out twice.
It is. It's you can buy even in the coins, but they're far and few between.
It's expensive. You pay a real premium.
You're
for
going to
that.
pay a
And
premium
to be
for it.
honestly, you won't get that premium back.
Maybe not in 5 years, maybe not in 10, but in 15,
But people
you
just
will.
look at it as fine silver. They're not going to say, "Oh, this is 4 nines, and I paid an extra $2 an ounce."
But a collector will. There's a difference.
Okay.
See, when you're in coins, it's collection and
All right.
what it is. So there's little variables there.
What
But
do you think
anything
about numismatics, though?
You know, honestly,
In silver.
it's silver, and I guess it's depends on the person that it's looking for the coin. You have to match the coin to the buyer when it's like that. If it's just basic silver, you hit all the economy. You can hit the guys that want just silver,
Okay.
or the guys looking for
So common silver.
yeah, common silver is your best bet to make
In a coin, in an American coin,
any,
or
and
foreign
it,
coin.
it doesn't make a difference. Foreign
Okay.
coin, any coin that is going to be silver, pick up, hold on to. I would,
Okay.
you know, pass it down to your kids. You know,
Yeah.
if you're not going to do anything with it, pass it down to your kids.
I
you know.
had for my sons a 100-ounce silver bar from the 1980s on. They were very young.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it might have been 1980s, but I put a 100-ounce bar in this with each child's name on it. Okay, for
There
a
you go.
college fund,
Yeah.
but it never happened.
Yeah.
I mean, college funds went.
They
Crazy,
went
and
crazy.
the
Silver
silver
didn't.
didn't.
Yeah, like I said, like you said, silver's manipulated so bad right now, and it's gonna keep, it's gonna keep being manipulated, and it's just because of the dollar. You know, if gold and silver go too high, people are gonna want to go back to that basic, gold and silver
Right.
product. They're not gonna want the U.S. dollar. They're not gonna want the yen, the yin, the yang, whatever you want to call it.
I forgot to check on our sound, but keep on talking.
So-
keep explaining.
Yeah, they're like I was gonna bring a couple things that I had here. I wish I would have. I had some. I have some.
Show and tell.
Yeah, I have some gold.
Good.
I only have like 1 or 2 that I kept. I'm gonna give them away for Christmas here to the family. They're gold notes. You can buy them. Like Wisconsin, they now make, because some states are going back to the gold standard,
Okay.
where they're printing their own gold notes, their own gold flake notes now.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll matter of fact, next time I'll bring a couple and I'll show
Well,
you
I never
these.
got a chance to talk with bros.
Yeah, like
We really
pros.
got into the precious metals, and we have a lot of memories to share.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's even more stories.
Oh,
I'm
God.
sure you have
You-
all kinds of stories.
Oh man, there's stories, but I can't put them out there. That's me and you are gonna talk about stuff.
We're talking about Rocketdyne, and they replaced their galvanized pipes, and they had miles of them going to the drains.
Yeah,
all filled with precious
Precious
metal
metals.
silver
Yeah.
from their film department.
yeah.
The plumber that was hired,
He was in
remove-
his glory.
He was bringing in 20-foot pipes into our refinery.
Yeah.
And we had to figure out how to get we actually literally had to heat the whole thing and
Yep.
let the silver pour, because the steel galvanized pipe wouldn't melt.
Yeah.
It's steel.
Yeah, it's
At a
hot. Yeah, higher temperature.
Higher temperature. We get it red. We could but we could get the precious metals.
Yeah.
And so we had to create a furnace that would heat up this pipe,
Yep.
20 foot long, at an angle, so that it would just pour into a mold at the end.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
But he had so many of them, it was worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we used gas furnaces for that. Closed gas, long pipe-shaped gas furnaces we created.
Have you ever seen the like on models where they gold plate the plastic?
Mm.
Have you ever?
Yes, they used to silver plate plastic. I don't remember
And they
why.
gold plated it too.
Did they?
I
Well, we
got
did
it.
electronics.
Yeah, I did a lot of that because it was easy to take the plastic out and
We
it
did
to
computer
gold.
electronics for years. Pins, cut the pins off the
Yeah,
ends.
I did that. I did that.
Take the circuits out,
Yeah,
bust up the chips.
yeah,
We had a lot of different ways to
yeah.
collect precious, and it's still around. It's still inside all the old cell phones
All
and
the
computers
yeah,
and
all
stuff.
the cell phones, all the computers. You go in there, and all the pins and everything on the RAMs. It looks like copper, but it's all gold. You just cut them off, and you can put them, save them, put them in a jar.
Now
You know,
we also had a guy. Okay, I'm sorry, but all these stories are coming to mind because you're bringing back memories.
memories.
Yeah, but there
Yeah.
was a guy that worked for the company that made the airbags, and they used
Oh,
platinum because
yeah.
the explosion would melt the wires.
Yes.
Okay, so they used platinum wires,
Yeah.
which were not as good a conductor as silver, but they would. And they
They hit
had
high temperature though.
and they were creating this platinum wire, which was thinner than a hair, okay, in Germany, okay, and he brought over a whole bunch of this. It looked like sponge wool, okay, really fine hair,
Hmm.
but it had some weight, but it was weird, okay, it was like spongy, and we're going to, and he says, oh, I think it's silver, but it might, I'm not sure, and I says, well, I mean, I don't know, I says it's got some weight, but it's kind of strange. So I took a torch to it, and it would melt, but not like the wire was so small it would melt and bead.
Right.
Okay, but we couldn't melt the whole mass. I put it in a gas furnace, tried to melt it down in a carbon graphite crucible, and it would get spongy, but
Not melt.
not liquid.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm going, I don't know what the hell this is. So we
Yeah.
let it cool. We pulled it out. It was kind of lumpy, but it was melted, but it was lumpy. So all the sponge lumped together, but it wasn't liquid. Okay, well, the furnaces go up to a couple thousand, 2,200. Okay,
Yeah.
so the weight of it was incredible. So I went to another refinery because we didn't have a spectral analysis. There was another refiner that was a friend
Okay.
of mine. He had this fancy thing that would do the angstroms and
Yeah. It would
stuff
tell
all
you. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and he'd
Yeah.
come back and he said it was what did they use in the light bulbs? I can't remember.
Tungsten.
So he
Tungsten.
said it was tungsten, and he says, and I says tungsten. And I says, is there any value in it? He goes, no. All right. I threw it on the table. I called the guy and I says, hey, it's tungsten. It's not. There's no value. I'm sorry. You know. But it's laid on my table for a couple months, and I kept looking at it. And I'm going, it doesn't look like tungsten. It looks silvery.
Yeah.
Tungsten's kind of gray.
Yeah. It
Okay.
is. It is.
Yeah. And so I sent it out to a San Francisco lab, and it came back. And they didn't call me; they could just send the paperwork, and the item back.
Yep.
It came out that it was 90 or 87% platinum, and the balance was tungsten.
So he just gave you the tungsten report, not
No,
the
he
platinum.
gave me the metal.
No, the other guy only
The
gave
other
you the
guy had-
report of the
so when I went
tungsten,
back
not
to
the
them- So I went
platinum.
back to him and I says, "Look at this." He says,
Yeah.
"Let me check that again." Well, the tungsten angstrom and the platinum angstrom are right next to each other.
Yeah.
Whatever I'll call it angstrom. I don't remember what it is, but the spectral analysis.
Yeah.
He says, "You know what? There are two lines." He says, and I read it fast, and I just assumed. And I said, "Oh shoot!" Well, I told the guy it's junk. So I'm trying to frantically find the phone number for this guy who lived in another city, and he worked. He says he gathered it
Hopefully
out
he
of
didn't
the
throw.
trash.
Yeah, hopefully he didn't throw it back in the trash.
So he says I was gathering out of the trash. He says, and I just wanted to see what it is, because he says I think it might be precious metal. Okay.
Right.
Well, I couldn't get a hold of him. His number was disconnected. Months went by. Out of the blue, thank God, the guy calls me. He says, "Hey, you know, I have something else for you to look at. I have these pins that the company has, and they're gold plated. Maybe the pins are worth something." I says, "You know, I'm glad you called me." I says, "It turns out it is actually has some platinum in it, but it also has tungsten, and it threw the test off, and I couldn't get a hold of you."
Yeah.
And he's like, this long silence.
Oh no.
I says, "Oh my God, tell me you still have some." He says, "No, I've been throwing it away." I says, "What about anything that you've held?" He says, "Well, I think I have some stored in shoe boxes." And he says, "I'll have to go look in the garage."
Yeah.
Okay, his garage, typical mess. He calls me back. He says, "You're not going to believe this." I says, I hope it's good news." He says, "No." He says, "My wife opened up the shoe boxes and saw all this stuff in it, and she threw it in the trash for the trash man because the cardboard shoe boxes were piled around the water heater, and she was afraid of fire."
Yeah.
Lost.
Yep. Lost forever.
Do you know that little bar that he brought over me, $77,000, and this is 25 years ago?
Yeah.
$77,000 for that one little. I says, "Well, I owe you some money," and I'm so sorry. And
Yeah.
he says, and he says this, and they're closing the plant down. He says, I'll start saving it again.
Yeah.
He says, but they're closing the plant down and they're moving it to another state to consolidate. And he says, and I don't know if I'm losing a job or transferring over. And he lost his job. So
Yeah. It's a lot of money to be gone.
oh my God, I have no idea how much.
Yeah.
It's the one that got away.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the one that got away.
Yeah. Oh, it's always the one that
What
got
a
out.
shame.
I've had,
What a shame. I can't imagine how many shoeboxes. He never told me. I was heartbroken for him and for me because I told him the knowledge I knew at the time I knew. That's
But it
what I
wasn't
was
your
told.
mistake.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it
no,
wasn't-
but
no.
it was a shame.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Well,
was lost. Luckily, he didn't throw it away because of my conversation. His wife had thrown it away way
Right.
earlier.
right.
So it wasn't.
Yeah, because you lost him
I
a
hope he
lot
didn't
of
get
money.
a divorce over that because I'm serious.
Honey,
If he
guess
had
what?
shoe boxes up now, literally, he brought me a baggie of it, a little plastic bag, and he said there was a lot in these shoe boxes. I can't imagine what the value is.
Yeah.
And at that time, platinum was higher than gold.
Platinum is still really good.
It's not as high as gold, I
No,
don't think.
no. Gold.
But
I can't remember. I didn't look at it in the last couple of days, but I heard it was. I want to say, was it over 3,000 or 2,000?
I don't know. I
can't
haven't
remember.
followed the markets. Everybody else will
I
comment.
yeah,
But the bottom line is, I think for a while, because of the catalytic converters,
yeah.
platinum went through the roof.
It went through.
During
Yeah,
those times,
yeah.
that's what was going on.
yeah. And now with the electric cars,
They dropped off because car sales dropped off
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
And electric cars.
Yeah, electric cars are coming in now. It's silver.
Yeah,
I'll
they're
tell you,
not doing the catalysts.
silver's going to be the next gold.
Yeah.
Silver is going to be the next.
Silver's a big winner.
You
If
cannot.
if you want to make money, we're getting cut along. But if you want to make money, start buying physical silver and put it away in
Yeah.
a safety deposit box or a safe
Yeah.
that can't be stolen out of your home.
Yep.
In the floor. I don't care what, cement it in high to cover it. But silver.
Silver is a poor man's gold. It's the poor man's gold because a lot of people can't afford gold. Okay.
There's only one negative. It's big.
Yeah, it's bulky.
It's bulky.
It's bulky. It takes 20 to 1, it's 20 ounces, basically 20 or 30 ounces to 1 ounce of gold. But it's not feasible to buy tiny little specks of gold, for a high dollar when you can buy a big, ounce of silver and
I
let
think
it
it's
sit.
a lot more. You're saying, I know gold's over 2. Is gold over 3,000?
I can't remember. I know it's over 2. The last time I looked, take a look at the phone. I think it was like 22.5 or something like that. But
metals.
and I know silver is up again because I
Silver
was
over 30, and I think gold went over 3,000.
Yeah,
Give me some
yeah.
price charts.
so
Gold price charts.
yeah, because silver. When I left, silver was at 25.
Gold's at 3,200 right now. Could you believe that?
Now, all right, now I was paying
silver's 32.
I was paying 1,800 an ounce for gold. Okay, before I left, and I sold a lot of my
Well, I
gold.
started when it was. My dad started when it was 70. Then it became 85.
Yeah.
Then it was held for a while.
Yeah.
At 83, 85, something like that for several years.
Yeah.
So I remember way back.
Yeah, I got rid of a lot of the stuff that I had. My gold, like I said, I sold a lot of my gold, but I went back I stayed in with the, the coins.
Gold's at 3,000. Now, what are the chances of gold going to 6,000?
Yes.
Not too strong, I don't think. I think you're going to have some limits.
52, 55. The government's not going to let it go over 55.
I don't think it'll let it go over 5,000.
No, it'll go 55.
Now, what's the chance of silver going to 60?
Yes.
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 Very easily.
Very easy. If production keeps going in cars, if we don't have an economic downturn.
That's the point, because you say it's the poor man's
it's a poor man's gold.
precious metal, but
Yeah, it definitely is. I
but
mean,
the
I was a
bottom
poor
line
man and I did it.
you have to get it physically, not the
Paper
stocks.
paper. When you're dealing with paper, it's nothing. It's just they're telling you they have this. I have 10,000. I have 10,000 pounds of gold or silver, so I'm going to send you this piece of paper, and you're going to buy and give me money.
You're going to find out that they're lying.
Yeah, there is not as much silver in their coffers
if you can't acquire it, they can't acquire it.
You got it. And it was getting harder and harder for us to acquire.
And the storage costs would be incredible.
When I was waiting for the U.S. Treasury to print coins, and I was 4 and 6 and 8 weeks behind because they couldn't get blanks because there wasn't enough silver.
I know.
There's a problem. There was a problem in that. That's the reason why I say that, I prefer physical over any type of paper. Now, people are going to say, "Oh no, blah blah." There's going to be a lot of arguments about this.
I'm looking up the right terminology because I'm going to be stupid if I say the wrong thing.
Well,
But,
hey, we're not perfect people. Put it that way. If someone says we made a
think it's an
mistake, oops.
ETF, but I'm trying to. Yeah, it's
The
ETF.
ETF, yeah.
Okay, so I looked it up. So silver and gold ETFs.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Now someone else is going to say, "Oh no, you're crazy." But you know what? I stay out of that because if I can't
very risky.
put it this way, if I can't hold it, I don't own it. Okay.
Yeah, they have SLV and
Yeah.
and the gold one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't believe in anything paper. If you can't hold it, you don't own it because you don't know what the government or the economy is going to do. And if it's just a piece of paper, this company's going to claim bankruptcy. Now, what do you do with that piece of paper? You know what you're going to do with it? It's going to be good for lighting a barbecue.
Yeah.
So
exchange traded funds. Now,
Yeah.
it's also on the it's not a stock market item. It's actually, oh my God, what's the market called? Because it's a raw product.
it's a commodity.
It's a commodity.
Yeah, it's a commodity.
So it's on the commodity market.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if something ever does happen, I'm not saying, bad things are going to happen, but that little piece of paper, you think that someone's going to take that piece of paper and say, okay, I'm going to give you, food for this piece of paper? No, when you have a physical piece of gold, you can walk into a store and say, this is, gold, or I can hand this to you and you're going to give me something to eat for it.
Yeah.
Okay, but that piece of paper that says I own this stuff, you're not going to give me nothing.
Well, the gold has got thousands of years from before Roman
Gold and
times
silver
that has this mystic about it. Okay,
That's right.
Silver doesn't. I'll be honest, not as much.
Not as much, no.
But I mean, gold will always be the number one metal, and
Right.
silver will always be a follower.
Yeah, you could,
But the fact
but
is,
they're
I think
both
there's more-
but they both could be used as an exchange and barter system.
Yes.
But that piece of paper for that ETFs, that piece of paper, you're not going to be able to do nothing with that. In the real world.
Yeah.
In the real world, maybe in the
You see, you cash it in, but only if at a certain point they won't let you.
they won't let you, because I know a company that did buy a bunch of those, and he went in, and this guy's got money. He's got big money. He went in and said, I don't want the paper anymore. I want the gold. And he basically had to go to court.
Really?
Yeah, to get it.
Well, you know what
So-
they do? They could file. They could bankrupt.
Well,
they could file bankruptcy, and all of a sudden your ETF is gone.
Yeah, the company.
Whatever company backed it
Yep.
and sold it on the market,
Yep.
they disappear.
Yeah, and they say it's government, it's government issued or government insured and all that. Well, it still doesn't make a difference. You still have to go fight for it. When you got it in your hand, it's there. Nobody can take it away from you unless you allow that to happen.
All right.
We
We're
better
going to stop this. We're going to talk a little bit. If we have a chance, we're going to talk a little bit with Rose. Appreciate it. We have a lot in common. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
It brings back some great memories. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you watched this far,
Yeah.
because I'm pretty sure we're hit an hour. But this is Goldfinger and Tim
Hey.
and Rose.
Tim and
Thank
Rose.
you all.
Hey, and don't forget, subscribe to Tim and Rose in the Philippines also. That's our
okay.
our
I
channel.
didn't know you had a channel. You
Yeah,
didn't tell me.
we have a channel. Yeah,
Well, you got to
surprise.
give me that information.
Yes.
We're going to start another one. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.